Happy holidays from SmoothBrainEDH. We're still here to make some smooth plays with the biggest brains this holiday season, and we've got a fun, festive episode to celebrate this time of year. So let's see what merry brews our smoothies brought to the table. Up first is Ethan, who brought Anim Pakal, Thousandth Moon. Anim Pakal's triggered ability helps Ethan create gnomes, elves in this case. So using these elves, he hopes to generate tons of value and go wide of his opponents. Next up is Caden, who built Rocco, Cabaretti Caterer. This is Rocco Elfball, with Rocco cosplaying as Santa leading all of his helpers. Caden's looking to overwhelm his opponents with his festive army. Our third player today is Seth on Brenard, Ginger Sculptor. In a morbid twist, Seth is looking to bake tasty treats from the corpses of his dying creatures and accrue value from Bernard's ability. Last up is Chandler, playing Ian Malcolm, Chaotician. Chandler's feeling the holiday spirit and is in a giving mood. He also wants his opponents to be in a giving mood, and with Ian Malcolm's triggered ability, they have no choice. We're about to get to that game, but before that, like and leave a comment letting us know which festive themed deck you want to take home the victory. We have links to our socials, public Discord server, Decklists, and Patreon in the description. Our channel is partnered with Dragon Shield, so if you're looking to pick up any new sleeves or magic-related product, check out our affiliate link in the description. Thanks to Dragon Shield, who also gave us a code SMOOTH5, so use that for 5% off your order. We are also partnered with Inked Gaming. Check out the affiliate link below if you want to pick up any custom playmats. Now, on to the gameplay.
It looks like Chandler wins the die roll, and he'll start off with his Restless Spire and pass. Ethan will start off with Spine Rock Knoll, and he'll hide away a card, then pass to Caden. Caden starts off with a Windswept Heath, and he'll just pass to Seth. Seth plays Dreamroot Cascade, and then we'll pass back to Chandler. Chandler plays his Homeward Path, and then we'll cast Talisman of Creativity, and then he passes to Ethan. On Ethan's upkeep, Caden decides to go ahead and fetch for a Jetmir's Garden, and we'll let Ethan take his turn while he's searching. And Ethan starts off with an Ancient Den as land for turn. Then he'll cast Thought Vessel and pass the turn to Caden, who will play a tap Temple Garden as land for turn, and then he'll tap for 1 and cast an Allosaurus Shepherd, and then the turn is passed to Seth. He'll start off with a basic forest, and then cast himself a Farseek. He goes to find Aspara's headquarters, and he'll pass to Chandler while he's searching for it. And Chandler will start off with the man, the myth, the legend, Jeff Goldblum. Oops, wrong art. Don't ask me why I have that one. And he has to take a damage to his talisman. Then he'll play a Hidden Volcano as land for turn. The turn is then passed to Ethan, and he starts off with a basic Plains as land for turn. Then he'll cast his commander, Anim Pakal, and then the turn is passed to Caden. He'll start off with a Rootbound Crag as land for turn. Then he'll tap for 2 and cast Lightning Greaves, which are equipped to his Allosaurus Shepherd. And then the Shepherd is turned sideways to Seth for 1 damage, and then he'll pass the turn to Seth, who will immediately tap for 3 and cast Tireless Provisioner. Then he'll play a basic Plains as land for turn, and there's a landfall trigger. And after a bit of deliberation, he decides to go for the food token. The turn is then passed to Chandler, and he'll play a Valakut Stoneforge as land for turn. And then he just passes to Ethan. Ethan will start off with a basic Plains as land for turn, and then he'll cast a Professional Facebreaker. After this, he'll move to combat, and he'll swing Anim Pakal at Chandler. She'll trigger, get a counter, and then have a gnome go at Caden. And they'll both not block, take their damage, and Ethan will get 2 treasure tokens. Post-combat, Ethan will cast a Gold Knight Commander, which causes the entire table to panic, and then he'll pass the turn to Caden. And Caden starts his turn off with a basic Forest. Then he'll cast an Elven Chorus, and then pass the turn to Seth. But Chandler stops on end step, and he'll tap for 3 to flash in Dictate of Krufix, and he takes another 1 to his Talisman, which means that Seth will now move to his turn, draw 2 cards on his draw step, and exile Displaced Dinosaurs. All of his opponents may now cast that on their turns. Moving on, Seth will play a basic island as land for turn. This will trigger landfall, and he'll make a treasure this time. Then he'll tap for 4 and cast his commander, Brenard. Then Seth will pass the turn to Chandler, who on his draw step will draw 2, which triggers Ian Malcolm, and he'll exile an Izzet Signet. After this, he'll tap for 4 and cast a Solemn Simulacrum. ETB trigger will find him a basic island, and he'll pass to Ethan while he's searching, who draws 2 on draw step, and the Ian Malcolm trigger will exile a mountain. And Ethan's a little annoyed because he only has 1 red source. But the lack of red does not stop him from casting a Citadel Siege, and as it resolves, he'll choose cons, meaning, at the beginning of his combats, he'll put 2 counters on a creature he controls. Ethan will then move to combat and target Anim Pakal with Citadel Siege's ability, but Chandler will respond by tapping for a blue and pongifying her. So she is destroyed, and Ethan gets the only 3/3 token we could find. And this does trigger the Gold Knight Commander, so all his creatures get +1/+1. Ethan then attempts to move to combat again, and he makes it there this time, and he'll swing his 2/2 gnome at Caden and his 3/4 menace at Seth. They just take their damage, and Ethan will make 2 treasure tokens off of this. Then post-combat, he'll tap for 3 and cast Welcoming Vampire. After this, he plays Windbrisk Heights as land for turn, hiding away another card, and then he'll pass the turn to Caden. And on his draw step, he draws 2, which triggers Ian Malcolm, and he'll exile a Gwenna. After this, he'll cast a Felwar Stone, and then he'll cast Chandler's Izzet Signet that was exiled under Ian Malcolm. Caden will then just pass the turn to Seth, and he'll draw 2 cards on his draw step and exile Adrix and Nev Twin Casters to Ian Malcolm. Then on his main phase, he'll cast Rosie Cotton of South Lane. When she ETBs, he'll create another food token, which will trigger her again, and he'll put a 1/1 counter on Brenard. Seth will then play Beseiju as land for turn, which will trigger Tireless Provisioner's landfall, making another food token, which will trigger Rosie Cotton again, which will put a 1/1 counter on the Provisioner. Then after this, he'll tap for 4 and cast Eleanor Gardener. When she ETBs, he makes yet another food token, which triggers Rosie Cotton again, and another counter is put on Tireless Provisioner. The turn is then passed to Chandler, and he'll draw 2 cards and trigger Ian Malcolm, which exiles a Brainstorm. Then on his first main, he'll cast a Ponder, he'll look at the top 3 cards of his library, put them back in an order he chooses, and then draw a card. Then he'll cast a Soul Ring, then cast a Temple Bell, then cast a Serum Visions, and he'll draw a card, then scry 2, and one of them goes to the bottom, and then he'll pass the turn to Ethan, and in his upkeep, Ethan will cast Chandler's Brainstorm. So Ethan will draw 3 cards, and then put 2 cards from his hand back on top of his library. After this all resolves, Ian Malcolm will trigger, and Chandler decides to respond to this by activating Temple Bell to make everyone draw a card. Then Ian Malcolm exiles a Marble Diamond, and then finally Ethan will draw 2 on his draw step. Now on main phase, he'll play Fury Calm Snarl, and reveal a mountain so it enters untapped. Then he'll tap for 5 and recast Anim Pakal. And when she resolves, Gold Knight Commander will trigger. This gives everything +1/+1, and then Welcoming Vampire will also trigger, drawing him a card. Ethan will then move to combat, and Citadel Siege targets his commander. Caden will respond to it though, by Swords to Plowsharing Gold Knight Commander. That thing is terrifying. Ethan then declares attacks, and he swings 3 in the air at Seth with his Vampire, and this will trigger Anim Pakal, putting a 3rd counter on her, and he'll make 3 1/1 gnomes attacking Caden. Neither of them can block this, so they just take 3 each, and this will trigger Facebreaker twice. The turn is then passed to Caden, and he'll draw twice and exile Bloodbraid Elf off of Ian Malcolm. After this, he'll tap for 3 and cast Reclamation Sage, blowing up Citadel Siege, and then he'll equip the Sage with Lightning Greaves. After this, he'll tap for 1 and cast Jorraga Tree Speaker, then equip it with the Lightning Greaves, and then pay 2 mana to level it up to level 1. He'll then tap it for 2 and an additional 1 to cast Eternal Witness off the top of his library, and this will return Swords to Plowshares back to his hand. And then the Witness is equipped with the Lightning Greaves. Man, these boots have been worn by a lot of elves. The turn is then passed to Seth, and he'll draw 2 cards and exile Killer Service to Ian Malcolm. He'll then play a basic island as land for turn, and this triggers landfall, which makes him another food token, which puts a counter on Eleanor Gardener. Seth will then tap for 4 and slam the best card printed in the Middle-earth series, Bill the Pony. When Bill ETBs, Seth makes 2 more food tokens. When he makes those 2 food tokens, Rosie will trigger twice and put 2 +1/+1 counters on Brenard. Then after this, Seth will cast a Blade Splicer, which when it ETBs, he gets a 3/3 Golem. And since it is a token, Rosie Cotton will trigger, and the counter goes on the Golem. Seth will then move to combat, and he swings Eleanor Gardener at Chandler. He'll also sacrifice a food token to Bill the Pony to have her deal damage with her 5 toughness rather than her 3 power. And Chandler just chumps with Solemn Simulacrum, drawing himself a card. And since Seth sacrificed that food, when he moves to his end step, he'll get to tutor a basic force to the battlefield tapped off of Eleanor. After this resolves, Chandler will stay on end step, tap for 3, and Chaos Warp Rosie Cotton. So she's shuffled back into Seth's library, Chandler will give the deck a cut, and Seth will flip 3 bowls of porridge. I don't like the implications of this. We'll now move to Chandler's turn, and he'll draw 2 cards, and exile Swansong off Ian Malcolm. After this, he'll cast a Midnight Clock, then a Felwar Stone, then an Ominous Seize, and then he'll slam Wheel of Fortune. And with the wheel on the stack, Caden will Legolas Quick Reflexes his Allosaurus Shepherd to untap it. Then he'll tap the Shepherd for a white mana, and it'll deal 1 damage to Ethan's untapped gnome. And then with that white mana, he will Swords to Plowshares Brenard. Then the Wheel of Fortune resolves, and I'll let the players tell you guys what they discard.
I'll discard Nymph Visit Perun, the Locust God, and Vision Skies.
Okay, I did do Minas Tirith, Mountain, Wheel of Fortune, Alabu, Lochiel, Lazel, and okay, it's Lunark.
Rhythm of the Wild.
Oof.
Jessica's Will.
Oof.
Triumph of the Horde.
Oof.
Crater of Fate.
Oh my god, you're welcome everyone.
Heroic Intervention, Commander Spear, Illustrious Wanderglyph,
Oh.
Farmer Cotton, and Banquet Guests.
Then after everyone draws 7 cards, Ian Malcolm will trigger 3 times. Ethan exiles Intangible Virtue, Caden a Farseek, and Seth the Shire. Ominous Seas triggers too. The turn is then passed, and Ethan will draw 2 and exile Boros Garrison. Then he'll cast a Reckless Fireweaver, which is absolutely terrifying with Anim Pakal. Oh, but if that wasn't enough, he'll also cast Witty Roastmaster. Oh, but that's not all. He'll then tap for 4 and cast the most pushed card in Lost Caverns of Ixalan, Roaming Throne. And as it enters the battlefield, he'll Named Human, and this will trigger the Witty Roastmaster once and the Reckless Fireweaver twice. After this, he'll move to combat, and he swings Professional Facebreaker at Caden and Welcoming Vampire at Seth. Double Anim Pakal triggers. The first one will put a 4th counter on her, and she'll make 4 gnomes that are tapped and attacking Seth. There's then 4 Witty Roastmaster triggers and 8 Reckless Fireweaver triggers. Then the second Anim Pakal trigger will resolve, putting a 5th counter on her, and he'll make 5 more gnomes. 2 will go at Chandler, and the rest still go at Seth. That's 5 Witty Roastmaster triggers and 10 Reckless Fireweaver triggers. Moving to blocks, Chandler will block 1 of the gnomes and take 1. Seth has 7 gnomes coming at him, so he'll block 4 of them and then take 5 because 2 in the air. And then Caden can't block the Facebreaker, so he'll take 2. Then the Professional Facebreaker will have 6 triggers, and when those treasures hit the field, it is more than enough damage to kill all of Ethan's opponents, making him and Anim Pakal the winners. Happy holidays, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed that game as much as I did. I was really rooting for myself on Ian Malcolm, but I really think that Homeward Path being out discouraged people from casting each other's cards. I'm gonna have to take that out. Anyways, that was a really fun game regardless. Ethan's Anim Pakal deck was crazy, and holy crap, the Roaming Throne is a nuts card. Seth got to build up a pretty big army of food producers, and Caden was the king of interaction today. And it seems like without that wheel, if he had gotten another turn, he was gonna slam a hoof and kill somebody. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed, let us know down in the comments below, and leave a like if you haven't already, and subscribe. But that's all for today, guys. I hope you all have a great Christmas, and a smooth day.